There we go.
And we're on.
Hey guys, welcome back. I think most of you know Dan. Yeah, we talked about that he's probably going to get like 5 new subscribers from this video.
Well, we'll see.
That might be maybe 2.5. Guaranteed we have like the exact same sub base.
I agree. I think we have a lot of the 30 and ups.
So what we're going to do today is we are going to be looking at Dan's setup and just giving you the specs behind it in case you've been wondering. A more kind of like in-depth dive into what he's riding.
I can't wait to post this link whenever I get comments about my setup to be like, here it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like no more answering questions.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So first off, it is a Powell 8.5, right?
Yep.
Flight deck.
Yep. And
do you know which concave or molder? It has a name. All the ones have a name.
It's 2 something 5. Right?
Okay.
There's this one with a 7. Whatever one's rounder. There's one that's rounder and one that's pointier.
Yeah, I think the rounder one. Anyways.
Yeah.
So first off, let's check the length of this thing, and it's a tiny bit razor-tailed, so it's going to be slightly longer on paper. But it's 32, so it's a little under 32 because of the razor tail. And if we want to check it Paul's way, out of respect for Paul,
oh, he's going to press it down.
He loves to measure with the concave, and I think that's because he makes skateboards, so he sees it more three-dimensionally than a consumer. But anyways, the way Paul does it is a little bit harder, but it would be more like 32 1/4, 32 3/8. You need a more flexible tape measure to do that, and as a carpenter, I always just have the old Fat Max. So it's 32 long. Let's check over the trucks, what the width is. We are looking basically bang on 8.5. I'd say a hair over, which is well within being able to call it an 8.5. 8.5 down there, 8.5 in the middle. So it's got a straight rail. It doesn't have any oval or taper. It's like pretty straight along the rail. I like that. One of the things nose and tail length. We should check those too. I'm just gonna do straight across measurements because it's easier. So I'm looking at that and it's about 6 3/4 plus. So it's not a long nose for an 8.5. You can often find them to be about 7 inches. The tail is 6 1/2. So there's not a huge difference. And when I look at this board, like I do have a bit of a hard time telling the nose from the tail because it's only a 1/4 inch and there's not like a big difference in steepness. But that will be the next thing we check out. So I always love to check the steepness of the nose and tail. So we got the digital angle gauge, which is great for that. So we're almost flat. We're here actually at Cherry Park on the stage. So Cherry Park stage maybe has a 3-degree slope going this way.
That's
or
why you can gap
degree.
to ramp to
Yeah.
cheating.
Yeah, so that's why you go that way to jump the gap. Okay, so we're zeroed out roughly. Nose, we are looking at 18.8. So that's on the mellow side for sure. And Powell's, I've noticed they are mellow. So if you like that, some of the benefits are going to be that it makes it a little bit easier to pop. My boards are often around 22 degrees, which is like a bit on the steeper end. And you got to kick down pretty hard. And if your setup is really heavy, that makes it more challenging. So the tail, 18.5. So it's close enough that you could probably say that the kicks are more or less symmetrical on this, like both angles. So I've been learning a little bit about manufacturing, and I would call this, it may or may not be, but I would say it's a symmetrical mold. Another thing that I like to know about is where the wheelbase is positioned. So this is the Paul method where you check the fingers are flat because it's a really hard thing to measure. I'd say it's about 2 from where the bolts are to where the nose starts to go up. And over here, it's roughly 2, maybe a tiny bit more. So it's possible that the trucks could be shifted up a tiny bit towards the nose, which is to my preference. It'll make the tail feel slightly mellower and the nose feel slightly steeper. But it's a very small difference, and if that is the case, I could be wrong, but if it is the case, what it usually does is it balances it out for nollie tricks, because if it's dead centered, nollie tricks can sometimes feel a tiny bit too easy to pop, in my opinion, because of what I've ridden for my whole life. So I'm kind of liking where this is going, and with that, what kind of hardware you got here? Is it indie hardware?
I have no idea. It's some random brand. I think it just like had some cartoon character on it. I got it at a skate shop. Probably some local brand.
So it works though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hold your board together.
Yeah. It's Allen, not Phillips. It's 7/8.
Yeah, I can see, because it's just barely grabbing. Do they loosen up on you ever?
Not yet.
That's good.
Nope.
That's
He's
good.
been through 2 different boards now, so.
Awesome. You ride your boards for a while. You don't, like, you're not setting up a new one all the time. So
No.
why would that be?
Yeah, I don't like new stuff. I don't like. Well, it's like I hate switching stuff over is the main thing. Like, I have really terrible finger-eye coordination, so I'm constantly like dropping screws. Sometimes I'll get lucky and Haley will set my board up for me, like, or at least she'll grip it while I do the rest or whatever.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I literally do try to plan like my new boards around Haley. Like, when is she coming over? All right, that's when I want to set up a board.
Yeah. So
But
what kind of grip do you have on here?
Mob? Yeah, only mob.
Yeah, and you don't have a graphic grip?
Nope.
Yeah. I don't like graphic grip. I can't do it.
Just the vert stripe. I like to know where the back is.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to stop and think about it. And like you said, since the nose and the tail are closer to being symmetrical, because the new shapes that we have coming out obviously aren't out yet. So for this, it's just like, if this wasn't there, I would have to think about it for a second. I have to be like,
I found that on some Powell boards, they can look kind of symmetrical.
Yeah.
And I know that you're hoping for one with a nice big nose.
That's what they're definitely making. That's what everyone on the team was like, big nose, that's all we want, give us a big nose. So we got some big noses coming out.
So maybe something new happening in 2023, 2024. Okay, let's get to the trucks. What do you ride here?
Mindy's, they're 159 Reynolds.
So 159, for those of you who don't know, 8.75 axle length.
Yep. I like my trucks a little wider than my board.
And so these are hollows.
Yep.
The axle appears to be the only thing that's hollow. The kingpin is not hollow, and it's got the regular base plate, so you're not rocking a forged plate.
Correct.
So that'll put these at a 52 millimeter axle height, which is the same as Thunder's. It's a good axle height. What do you like about having a lower truck versus, say, like your standard Indy?
I switched to these trucks because I ghost pop my nollie flips and switch flips so much that I was like, maybe if I lower my trucks, I'll use the same muscle memory and I'll start snapping. And for that first month, I was popping everything. But then my body adjusted, and then I was like back to ghost popping. I think I got it down pretty good now. Over the past couple of videos, I didn't have to edit in any pop sounds. Not that I've ever done that.
I've noticed when you seem to focus on it a little more, you get the pop.
Yeah. But if I'm just flinging them out there, it's
when you're trying to throw it out like really quick midline right after landing something because your feet are almost set up. Yeah. So, okay, what else? Did you notice any difference about like pinches, feebles, crooks when you switch to a lower truck?
I don't know if I figured something out about crooked grinds and 50/50s on long ledges, or if it's the lower trucks that made it easier. But there's a thing that happens with front 50/50s when you try to hold them really long on ledges. It tends to want to throw you out, slip you into front board, or ride you onto the deck. And I found like a real sweet spot where like I kind of counter my weight and I can sit on front 50/50s as long as I want now. And crooked grind's the same thing. I found like instead of being so crooked, I kind of like bring it slightly more towards backside nose grind. And I don't know if I figured out with these trucks or it's because of these trucks that they're easier to hold.
I would say it's probably a combination of both. Like I bet because you figured out the form, if you went back to a standard Indy, you'd still be able to do it.
Yeah.
But I've noticed absolutely that like if you look at your board as a rectangle, right? The closer that rectangle gets to being a square, like when I switched to an 8-inch board with Indy standards, the first thing I notice, I jump on a front 50/50 and I'm like, man, I just want to fall off the ledge.
Yeah.
So absolutely, like you've got 8.75 trucks and an 8.5 board, and they're lower, so for sure, your setup is built for being closer and having an easier time staying on a ledge.
Yeah, and the width of the truck's 100%. If you want to sit on crooked grinds longer, I 100% riding. I suggest riding trucks a 1/4 inch wider than your board. I think that's a game changer.
And you've got another reason that you like that too.
So I can see my wheel. It's for front crooks specifically. If I can peek over and know exactly where my wheel is, I know exactly where the corner of my truck is. I can aim for front crooks. I used to lock into front nose over and over and over again. Started riding wider trucks. Now I don't miss as much.
I back that 100%.
Yeah.
I've experienced that absolutely. Like I've ridden 8 1/4 with 8.5 trucks.
Yeah.
For sure, it makes that trick easier for me. It has some other effects for me that I find that it flips a bit slower.
Definitely. And
with a board this wide, it might not be a problem, but on an 8.25 with 8.5 trucks, I did find that, like when I'm 50/50ing a flat bar, if I go double heel side, that it feels like the board wants to go more, it's more likely to want to flip off the rail.
Well, that's your first mistake.
Yeah, I
Going double heel side instead of cross. No, I'm just kidding.
It's an old school thing. I grew up riding 7.5s with
Yeah.
like 7.625 trucks.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So-
same thing. I mean, I would aim for the middle of my truck for the longest time because I didn't know. And however
Yeah.
I locked, it was how you lock. You just want your body weight centered.
Yeah, I mean, whatever works for you at the time, right?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Clearly, you've refined that technique.
Someone did. Tyson Peterson, I think, is the first person I saw intentionally lock it like that. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense.
I always lock backside like that, but
Yeah.
front side, I still usually go to double heel side because it feels more comfy.
Yeah. And it's the same lock you would use for a ledge.
Yeah, well, Nigel does it too, so it can't be that bad.
That's true. Leo Romero swears by it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, he also rides, like, I think he rides an 825
Yeah.
with 8-inch trucks. He's a small truck guy.
He is. He also said that he'll never cross lock because Jamie Thomas was heel side.
He was, and he
Yeah.
did double heel side on backside.
Absolutely. That's how Zach Doling is. Same thing.
I tried to learn him that way because of Jamie Thomas. What's with the motorcycle guys? Some people's kids.
A lot of cool people out in Long Beach. So
I'm actually loving Long Beach, and just for the record, Dan's actually been gracious enough to let me stay with him, and it's been like, it's been really helpful. So I want to say thank you for that. I've been very grateful. Anyways, let's get on to the wheels. I know you have a feeling about what wheels you like to ride.
yeah, but it's like not really necessarily a performance based. So my issue with Bones STFs is they're quiet. They don't flat spot. My issue with, and I know I'm gonna get shit for saying this.
Just say whatever you.
Yeah, what is it? The Formula 4s.
Yep.
I've flat spotted every pair I've ever had, and I've tried multiple pair. I burned through them. Maybe not in the first day, but definitely in the first week. And I think it's because I don't know. I like sliding and slashing around a lot, and sometimes like when you loop out, because it's never like a lip slide or a tail slide doesn't flat spot it. It's like I try to do a trick, I under rotate and I shoot out, and I just get a nasty flat spot, and I couldn't skate it back to being round.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Well, and there's no, like, you can't deny your experience. That's
Yeah.
what's happened to you.
Yeah.
And the comments is where we're going to see what happens to most people, right? So
Yeah.
leave a comment. Let me know, like, what's your experience with the F4? Have you gotten flat spots? I've gotten a couple, but
Yeah.
not as much as other wheels.
But with Acid is like the only other wheel company that has created a wheel that doesn't flat spot, that's really loud. And if you do somehow get like a flat spot where, like if you're like under rotating a 180 down something like a decent size and you slip out, it's gonna flat spot regardless of whatever
Especially
material
if it's
it is.
sandpapery.
Yeah.
Something about a lot of Southern California concrete is, even though it's really smooth, a lot of it is kind of sandpapery.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I also think that the really smooth ground can cause a flat spot just because it's heating up your wheel, right? That's what's flat spotting it. So if you land sideways enough and it's smooth, it's easier to power slide, but if it power slides too fast and you dig in too much, I think that can give it. But with these, I've been able to skate through the flat spots in a session and like it would go away.
They have a nice white color. Like,
Yeah, and these are the hardest ones they have.
This is a good shape too.
Yeah, I love the shape.
That's something. So do you have a preference? Have you tried many different wheel shapes?
Yeah, so they do like the flat lock, they do the more bubbled out ones. They have like 5 different shapes. This is the one where it's like kind of bubbled out. I like slappy, so it makes sense, but it like has a sharp flatness to it too, like towards the inside. I think it's like good for locking.
So for somebody who does so many slappies, you're not on either end of the spectrum like most people are. Most people are either like, if you do slappies, you have to ride tiny wheels, and then you got Bev up 58 conical fulls, right?
Yeah.
Which to me actually makes a lot of sense because he can mash up everything like a monster truck. And
Absolutely.
lock everything. He can lock like the roundest curb probably.
He'll ride over like curbs in the same way that you would pump over a speed bump. Like he'll just go over it.
I hope, I don't know if I'll get to see him live on this trip, but
Yeah, maybe tomorrow. I'll try to get him to come out. That'd be fun.
We'll see, yeah.
Review his board.
I'd love to if he's up for it.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, how about, I want to get back to the board a little. The flight deck thing probably helps you ride your boards a little longer too.
Yeah, 100%.
Because they don't sog out.
There's a couple benefits to the flight decks that I feel like people don't really think about. Like one of them is if you're a manual skater and you're doing flips into manuals, I swear to God, it makes your tail and nose get soggy. Especially if you're doing like drop, like the other day I was doing a 180 drop down thing to switch manual. And it was so nice knowing like, I know that my nose isn't gonna snap. Like it's gonna be, and I'm not a big hucker. I'm not jumping down anything bigger than like a 10's there.
You actually do some surprising hucks.
Sometimes, it's rare.
I've seen them in your Instagram and you do them sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you can.
I have to have the itch though. I have to I have to really want it. Otherwise,
Yeah,
I
well,
won't do
they're high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
You know.
See, at this point in time, it's almost like high risk, lower reward. I'm like, you know, a slappy would have felt just as cool. But it's you know, sometimes you want to make sure you still have it.
Yeah.
That and like the consistent stiffness throughout the entire thing. Like, I feel like with wooden boards, I am constantly slightly readjusting to every day of that board because it's slightly changing with all those like micro fractures. And with this, I feel like it's, even now, I've been skating this board for 3 weeks, and the only adjustment that I've had to make is I have a chip on the tail, and then I have a little bit of razor tail. And then other than that, it's just been fine.
Yeah.
The other good thing about them is, and some people might not like it, is so you don't really have to worry about chipping the tip that much. But you can get these like on the sides where like fray a little bit.
Side chips.
Which doesn't affect any trick that I do. Nothing's worse than standing on a tail and feeling something under my foot or having something on my nose and like feeling my foot flick it. At least this, like, 99% of your chips are gonna end up on the side, and that doesn't matter to me.
So we've got one last thing that people are probably screaming in the comments about already. Rails.
Yes.
Yeah, so what rails are they?
So I have been riding the Little John ones, but these aren't them. These are actually the standard, I think they're called Bones ribs.
So there's a standard Powell. Yeah.
Exactly, and they're just like slightly lower than Enjoy deck rails, slightly taller than pig wheels, or pig rails.
Okay, and so placement, now when I built a curb setup, I watched a lot of videos and everyone's like, you gotta have them in more to make all the like combo tricks possible, but you have yours way more out than I would have expected.
Yeah.
Like if we actually met, I put mine in like inch and an eighth.
Yeah.
And I still had a hard time like getting into all the crazy tricks, but yours are under an inch. It's like roughly 7/8. Roughly 7/8. And this one's a bit less.
This is fun for me because I have no idea why my deck rails are in. Sometimes I have them in, sometimes I have them out. The difference is this: the further out you have, the more stable your board slide is.
Yep.
If you're gonna go try to board slide a 1,000-foot curb, you're gonna want them on the edges. But if you want to do like the board slide to hurricanes and stuff like that, what also matters is what the corner of it is. So since this is a complete vertical sharp corner, it's gonna tilt up much steeper. So you're gonna have to lean hard, and then when it goes up, it's gonna go all the way up.
It goes fast.
Exactly. But if you have more rounded ones, which is what my Little Johns are, those would probably be in a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it would just be a little bit more gentle of a rock.
The candy bar ones I had, the welcome ones, it was just like, I would just jump on a board, and it took me a bit to figure out that it's actually all one fluid motion.
Yeah.
And the sooner I try and go into it, the easier it is. Like if I try and do a long board slide and then do it, it was way harder.
Well, a thing that, it's like a little trick that I play is when I'm deciding on what truck to go to, sometimes I would almost like get the wrong pinch because I try to go to hurricane. Just think, if I want to go to hurricane and I'm regular, put pressure on my left foot first and then the second foot follows, and that automatically shifts you in. So you don't even have to think this and then turn your body. If you just start with this foot, it automatically turns it into it. So I just think of like which foot I'm gonna move first, and that takes it to one truck.
You have achieved a certain level of mastery with the like getting to different trucks back and forth, like 2 in 1 trick.
Yeah, they're fun.
It looks like a lot of fun.
And they're super easy once you have these cheat sticks. So you can do it without deck rails, because I learned them without deck rails. You use the concave of the board using the same technique. You don't have to do that nollie lop up. You just go on your heels and dig in. If you want to go to Smiths and Feebles, go on your toes, any which way.
I think there's something to be said though for having the rail, because like if you don't have them, you have to push really hard, which can kind of throw you back.
Yeah.
And if you get them just right, then you can do it in a fluid motion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It definitely makes it way easier, that's for sure.
Well, cool. So the only thing we've left off is bearings.
Yeah, so these are the Bones ceramic reds. I just bought these the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are, I think they're like $80-some normally. My whole deal is this: if I get the Swiss, I just go through bearings like no one else. I think it's because I do so many slappies, and all that weight of like bashing into your truck from the side with slappies, I think breaks my bearings a lot. And when
It's a lot of diagonal torsion, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And bearings are meant to take this, but not so much this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll spend the extra money because I don't get those for free. Like I get Bones bearings for free, but I don't get those for free. I'll go spend that much money to make sure that I don't have to change my bearings for like 6 months at a time, which to me is a blessing because, like I said, my wheels are super hard, and getting bearings out of these, like a bearing thing won't get them out. I have to sit it on the ground, get a Phillips, wedge it in there, and you saw me the other day.
I have a video.
Wedge it up.
One of my earliest videos on YouTube was how to get bearings out of a stubborn wheel using a screwdriver. And like, you know, a couple times a month, that video gets a view and people are like, thank you.
It's a game changer. It really, because all that leverage, man, and when it gets
Yeah.
really bad, you'll wedge it and stick your other foot on it and stomp it down to pop it
Yeah.
out. But yeah, these super hard.
We need something that's like the exact width of the core of the wheel
Yeah.
to make it just a little bit easier.
These bearings can outlast my wheels. Which
Yeah.
I ride wheels until they're like so tiny.
You like to get them kind of toasted?
Yeah, because I start off at 52s. I probably take them off when they're 49s, or if they're just.
I'm
chunked
about
up.
the same. I usually ride 52s. They're usually about 48s when I'm done. At least
Yeah.
one of them is 48.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that crooked grind wheel gets a little worn down.
For me, it's the front toe side wheel that gets
Really?
the most coned. Always has been.
What's that from?
I have no idea, but I've always worn out the front toe side wheel first.
It's probably like your kids playing a prank on you. Just like all this time, they just wear down one wheel. It's the most random. It's just that seems like would be the best wheel for you. Like, what are you doing toe side? You just admitted earlier that you're not a big front crook guy.
I think it's from turning. I think it's some,
Fakey kick turns. You can probably dig it in a lot.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's just a mystery. Let me know in the comments.
Yeah.
What wheel is it that cones first for you? For me,
Yeah.
it's always front toe side. We've covered just about everything, but I do want to say one more thing. Victor is helping us film. If you guys want to see somebody doing some crazy tricks on that board over there in the background, I don't know how you skate that thing like it's a regular board, but it's pretty impressive.
She's still filming
But
it.
yeah, I wanted to say a big thank you to Victor for helping film this video. I'm gonna link his channel and maybe Instagram, whatever it is he's got, and hopefully I don't do that dumb thing where I actually forget.
It's okay.
Just in the comments, call me out real quick if you can't find Victor's contact info, because I want it in there.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and so anyways, big thanks to Dan, big thanks to Victor. Hopefully I actually filmed some skating and you got a little B-roll in there. Yeah, or maybe I filmed some stuff later today. But yeah, anyways, big thank you, Dan.
Thank you. It was so nice having you. I thought I was gonna have to explain to you my board, but it was literally like you came over here with like okay, this, and that. You told me more about my board than I know.
No, man, I was kind of filibustering it for the first few minutes.
Yeah, no,
there,
that was great.
But then you jumped in and it was good. Okay, thanks, guys. I hope you're doing awesome. Till the next one.
Ooh. That was a good try.
Oh.